One night, a woman sought a witch to avenge her husband and son through a dark ritual. The ceremony must occur during the darkest part of February's moonless month. Sister Jing's family was killed by a ruthless developer who seized their land. The witch warned of the ritual's danger, saying it couldn't be stopped once begun. Jing, consumed by hatred, was willing to do anything for revenge. The witch said they needed a boy to bury alive after the ritual. On February 16th, the darkest night, the ritual began. The killer went mad, slaughtering her family before taking her own life. The sacrificial boy, Xiaojie, seemed tainted by evil. Jing had to bury him alone or face worse consequences. The witch gave Jing a cursed amulet made from 7 animal bones, telling her to keep it close. Jing prepared to bury Xiaojie, unaware he belonged to a child trafficking ring she'd unknowingly crossed paths with. Brother Beard viciously warned Sister Jing that if she made any mistakes, he'd bury her alive. She was so terrified, she didn't dare breathe, leaving the final step of the Zulmat ritual incomplete. A month later, without a husband to support her, Sister Jing had to find work. She interviewed for a live-in nanny position at a villa, which would provide food and lodging. The interviewer was Jen, the lady of the house. Her family of 5 had just moved in. Her husband Qiang was a doctor but currently unemployed. They lived with his dementia-stricken mother, Aunt Mei, and 2 daughters, Dami and Xiaomei. Dami was upset about leaving her friends behind. Xiaomei, recovering from a serious illness, was in poor spirits. Jen hoped Sister Jing could help care for her mother-in-law and Xiaomei. Sister Jing confidently agreed, impressing Jen, who welcomed her to the family. At dinner, Dami's mood hadn't improved. She didn't want to eat with the family. The parents were at a loss. After dinner, Qiang seemed distracted. He told Jen he'd find work at the local hospital. Jen was puzzled why he'd quit his previous job if he still wanted to be a doctor. Qiang pointed to his head, indicating he just needed a break. Meanwhile, Sister Jing moved into the villa, planning to display a photo of herself and her son in her room. But then, suddenly, at this time there were several glasses of red liquid in front of him. He was drawing one of them to another, and soon he asked Jen to help him continue smoking. He went to the room to see how everyone slept in the new home. When he pushed the door into the room and saw the scene in front of him, his jaw dropped. So Mei Yi and Xiaomei were covered in blood. Qiang hurriedly hugged Xiaomei. No matter how she shouted, she didn't react. At this time, Mei Yi was saying some strange words in the mirror. And then, Qiang heard Xiaomei was calling him on the side. He turned his head to look at Xiaomei in disbelief, then slowly turned to the child in his arms. Qiang, there is also a certain relationship. On the other side of the house of an exorcist master, he sensed that there was a demon who wanted to do evil through the curse of Zulmat. And then he put his hand on the drawing. The master immediately understood everything. He must stop the demon's actions as a messenger of justice, and the demon already knew the master's thoughts, so he threatened the master not to get involved. The master realized that the ritual of Zulmat was not completed, which would also lead to the growth of the curse. The dark power would hurt more innocent people. The master must find a way to deal with the demon as soon as possible. At this time, Qiang was very painful in his heart, and it seemed to be in order to avoid the demon's actions. He put his hand on the drawing, and the master suddenly found a piece of paper. The master looked at it. It turned out to be a piece of paper. The master looked at it. It turned out to be a piece of paper. The master looked at it. It turned out to be a piece of paper. The master looked at it. It turned out to be a piece of paper. The master looked at it. It turned out to be a piece of paper. Master looked at it. It turned out to be a piece of paper. Master looked at it. It turned out to be a piece of paper. Master looked at it. It turned out to be a piece of paper. Master looked at it. It turned out to be a piece of paper. Master looked at it. It turned out to be a piece of paper. Master looked at it. It turned out to be a piece of paper. Master looked at it. It turned out to be a piece of paper. Big Queen Sui immediately regained her composure. Mei Yi seemed to be like a nobody. Sister Jin's first reaction was that she felt that she was hallucinating, but in fact it was because Sister Jin did not complete the ritual of Zulmat. The demon began to punish her and intimidate her, and at night when Damai, who was sleeping, heard Xiaomei's call, turned around and found Xiaomei with blood on her face, and the next second crawled directly onto her bed. Dami was instantly frightened awake. But after waking up, she still heard Xiaomei's call, so she trembled and walked to Xiaomei's bedroom, only to see Xiaomei hiding in the corner crying. And then Xiaomei became extremely large and still, and walked towards her. Unexpectedly, this was another dream. On the other side, Sister Jin was also awakened by a nightmare. When she woke up, she heard her son's voice, and asked why Sister Jin did not keep her promise. So she followed the voice, and slowly walked to the living room. Suddenly a hand was on Sister Jin's shoulder, but she looked around and found that there was no one. Next second, Sister Jin was so frightened that tears nearly fell. She kept hearing her son calling, then felt another tap on her shoulder. Meanwhile, Qiang brought a box to Mei Yi's bedroom. Qiang said he needed Mei Yi's blood to cure Xiaomei's illness. Mei Yi agreed without hesitation after hearing this. Mei Yi asked if Qiang killed Xiaojie to save Xiaomei. Puzzled, Qiang asked how Mei Yi knew about Xiaojie. Mei Yi said Xiaojie came to her room and told her. Suddenly, Qiang became possessed. He wrapped a leather strap around Mei Yi's face and led her to the 3rd floor stairs. This was another of Qiang's nightmares. Uneasy, he checked on Mei Yi, found her safe, and returned to his room. Then he heard her calling. He rushed back to find Mei Yi missing from her bed, then spotted her on the 3rd floor stairs. Just like in the dream, Mei Yi rolled down the stairs. That's how she met her end. Days later, Brother Hu demanded 2 million from Qiang, who claimed he'd given all his money and exposed his secret. At home, Angry from being blackmailed, Qiang lashed out at Dame for playing on her phone instead of eating properly. Dame, not one to back down, blamed her father. She said moving to this villa caused her nightly nightmares. Zhen urged them not to disturb Xiaomei. This upset Dame more, feeling her parents only cared about Xiaomei. After dinner, she went to her room. Later, Xiaomei woke from a nightmare to find the deceased Mei Yi on the floor. Xiaomei's parents and sister watched expressionlessly as Mei Yi crawled to the foot of Xiaomei's bed, grabbing her feet. Xiaomei screamed in terror. It was all just a hallucination. The screams quickly drew everyone's attention. Xiaomei said she wanted to sleep with Sister Jin tonight, and Sister Jin readily agreed. Back in his room, Qiang couldn't sleep. He regretted his actions and decided to confess to Zhen that he'd killed Xiaojie to save Xiaomei. He bought Xiaojie from Brother Hu for blood donation, but drew too much, causing Xiaojie's accidental death. He insisted it was all Zhen suggested Xiaomei come to him, but suddenly seemed possessed by a demon. Xiaomei said she's thinking of her parents. 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 Brother Hu's phone call. Brother Hu has found out Sister Jin is working as a nanny at Qiang's house. He said he'd come over in 2 hours, told Sister Jin to prepare the money, or he'd report to the police about her burying Xiaojie alive. But Sister Jin has no money to give them now. Sister Jin recalled the witch's words. Since the Jolmat matter wasn't finished, Sister Jin sought the witch for a solution. The witch learned through her intuition. Xiaojie died because the blood was drained. Xiaojie because it was used as a sacrifice at that time, stained with demonic blood. Now the blood is flowing into Xiaomei's body. Now just bury Xiaomei alive. The same can be done. But time is limited. Xiaomei must be buried alive as soon as possible. That's why Sister Jin will choose came to Kwang's house to work as a nanny. It turns out that all this has a purpose. At this time, the witch quietly appeared behind Sister Jin, a roar of rage. Sister Jin, who was originally in a daze, instantly sobered up. The table next to it was shaking. It seemed to remind her to open the drawer. Inside was the possession that the witch had given her. As long as the time comes, the possession charm will remind her to kill Xiaomei quickly. On the other side, Brother Beard was on the way to a Qiang house. He was suddenly blocked by 4 children. The bearded brother got out of the car and wanted to look more carefully, but he didn't expect to be hit on the head by a stone. He quickly returned to the car, and when he was about to start the car, his arm was grabbed by Xiaojie, which frightened Brother Beard. It seems that tonight, he will not see the sun tomorrow. It turns out that these 4 children died at the hands of Brother Beard. Tonight, the group came to ask for the life of the bearded brother. Zhen on the other side woke up and found that Qiang was not in bed, so he got up and planned to find him, when the table lamp was suddenly dragged to the ground. And in a second, Zhen was possessed by a black shadow. And then, Zhen came to the beautiful bedroom. Zhen stuffed her bloody hand into Dame's mouth just like this. Dame also became a puppet of the devil with a weird smile on her face. And when Sister Jin walked out of the room, she saw Zhen and Dame standing on the stairs calling to her and reminding Sister Jin that she must kill Xiaomei tonight. And then Sister Jin found a few tools to commit the crime and lied to Xiaomei to take her out to play a game. Xiaomei followed Sister Jin to the garden without any precautions. But she didn't know that Sister Jin had already dug a pit in the garden. Young and ignorant. But I don't know what I'm doing in the garden. At this time, Xiaomei found Dame in the garden. Her eyes sparkling, 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 her eyes sparkling. 花园，殊不知金姐在花园里早已挖好了坑。年少不